All right, example 6 is very similar to the last example. It's just that now our angles are given in radians. Now, how do I know these are in radians? It doesn't say that, right? Well, if you have an angle, right, if you're given an angle and it doesn't say degrees, then you can assume it's radians, okay? So these are angles in radians. Now, the reason I know they're in radians is not because of the pi, right? It's just because there's no degree symbol, so it's radians. All right, let's start with 5 pi over 4. Now, where is that on the circle here? I have a unit circle over here. Let's figure out where that is on the unit circle. So I'm going to start here by just labeling the quadrant angles in radians. So that's 0 radians. This is pi over 2 radians. This is pi radians. And this is 3 pi over 2 radians. So make sure you know the quadrant angles in radians. Now, 5 pi over 4, right? Now that is pi, well, or I could write it as 4 pi over 4, right? That's pi plus pi over 4, right? And just adding fractions. That's the same as 5 pi over 4. Okay, so pi plus pi over 4. Okay, so here's pi, and I go pi over 4 more, and so my angle is down here in the third quadrant, right? So this is where 5 pi over 4 is, right? I'm just adding pi over 4 to pi, essentially, right? So that's 5 pi over 4. And this, okay, so let's look at the triangle. Let's drop our little perpendicular line. Okay, so there's a perpendicular line, and this reference angle is pi over 4, 45 degrees, right? Same as 45 degrees. And this is this reference angle here is pi over 4. All right, so I'm going to write pi over 4. Since my angle is in radians, I'm going to make the reference angle in radians, even though 45 degrees is the same thing, right? I'm going to put my reference angle in radians. All right. Now, I've copied down these these triangles here. Let me scroll down just a hair more so we can see them better. All right, this is the same triangles I had in the last example. But okay, I have the angles in degrees, but you should know that pi over so 30 degrees is pi over 6. You should know that these special angles, okay, so 60 degrees is pi over 3, and 45 degrees is pi over 4, right? So this is pi over 4, and this is the same as pi over 4. Okay, so you should have those special angles memorized in addition to the quadrant angles, right? Okay, so the coordinates are going to be the same as the side lengths of this triangle that I drew are going to be the same as the 45, 45, 90 triangle. Okay, so my side lengths are the square root 2 over 2 and the square root 2 over 2, but they're both negative, right? They're both negative because I'm in, oops, I'm going to write 2, square root 2 over 2, comma, negative square root 2 over 2. All right. So they're both negative because we're in the third quadrant. So we're on the negative side of the x-axis and the negative side of the y-axis. So in the third quadrant, both the x and y are negative. Okay. All right. 14 pi over 3. What? Okay, that's a big angle. All right. Now I have to figure out where I am on the circle. On the circle. All right. Now I'm going to break this apart into 12 pi over 3 plus 2 pi over 3. That's 14 pi over 3. And I did that because I know that 12 pi over 3 is the same as 4 pi. Okay? 2 pi is once around the circle, so 4 pi is twice around the circle. Okay? So we've gone twice around the circle plus 2 pi over 3 more. So that's also telling me that this angle 14 pi over 3 is coterminal with 2 pi over 3. All right, so let's find where 2 pi over 3 is. We've gotten twice around the circle, and then we're going to go 2 pi over 3 more. Now, 2 pi over 3, that's if I had 3 pi over 3, that would be pi. So I am pi over 3 shy of coming back around to that quadrant angle. All right. So this angle here is 14 pi over 3. Okay, we've gone twice around the circle. So we're starting at the positive x-axis. We've got twice, 1, 2, and then, whoops, and then 2 pi over 3 more. Okay, so that's where 14 pi over 3 is. All right, that's kind of the tricky part. But now once we have the position on the circle and we know that it's coterminal with 2 pi over 3, then I can draw the triangle, right? And I can see the reference angle is pi over 3, right? Because I was pi over 3 shy of pi, right? 2 pi over 3 is pi over 3 shy of pi, right? So that's that angle that made between the terminal side of the angle in standard position and the horizontal axis is pi over 3. Okay, now, so I can see that if my reference angle is pi over 3, I'm going to look at this 30, 60, 90 triangle, and I'm going to determine the side lengths, right? The short side is the x-coordinate. It's the horizontal leg of the triangle over here. And so the x-coordinate is going to be a negative 1/2, right? Because I'm in the second quadrant where x is negative. And then the long side is the y-coordinate, and the y-coordinate is positive, so I get square root 3 over 2. All right, so those are the coordinates of that angle in the second quadrant. Okay. All right, we got one more here. Pi, negative pi. Okay, so it's a negative angle, right? And I'm measuring clockwise, and so I'm going to measure it from the positive x-axis and go clockwise. And so this angle right over here, okay, let's see, I always lose my pen. All right, so this angle right over here, this is a negative pi, right? So I hate cluttering up my my diagram here, but so we just went from the positive x-axis around here by a negative 180 degrees. All right, so negative pi is coterminal with pi. And so what's the reference angle? All right, we've got to think about what's the angle between the terminal side of the angle and the x-axis, right? Okay, so there's no angle there, right? So it's 0, right? So if we can't even drop a perpendicular because there's no angle between that terminal side of the angle and the x-axis, all right, the horizontal axis. So the reference angle is 0 radians. And what are the coordinates? Now it's one of the quadrant angles, so I can see that in that over here, it's going to have the same. It's going to have the same coordinates as pi, right? So the x is a negative 1 and the y is 0. So those are the coordinates of that angle. All right, so I will meet you for the next video.